Hey everybody, Dave Hagan here. I got my Apple Card. That's today on the Financial Wellness Podcast.
Welcome to the Financial Wellness Podcast, Dave's weekly message to keep you on your path to the financial success. Here is your host, financial problem solver and talk show host, Dave Hagan.
Thank you, Nick, and welcome everyone to the Financial Wellness Podcast, or as we like to call it, TFWP, coming to you from beautiful downtown Van Nuys. With me today, Mr. Brian Reed.
Hi, Dave.
How you doing, man?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Good. All right. I know you've been looking forward to this.
Open it.
Because I told you what I got. Yeah. So check it out, everybody. I recently decided to get an Apple Card. I wanted to see what it was like. I wanted to check it out. It seems so cool. I saw Timmy Cook on the reveal and that nice aluminum or titanium card, all nice and white. It really looked pretty cool. So I thought that I would get the card and that we would, open it up on the air. And we're going to do that today. And I'll explain the experience to everybody, or at least what I know about it. And we'll do some analysis of the card. Brian's been reaching over here trying to grab the packaging away and check out the card. So
trying to grab the Apple Card, not the package.
Not the package. All right. Trying to grab the Apple Card and its accompanying package. Whatever. So check it out. Here's what I had to do to apply. I mean, it was so easy. It was just ridiculous. Apparently, you just open your phone, you go to the Wallet app, and you type in your name and your social security number and your annual income. I mean, they trust you. You just type in a number. And I set it up on my phone, and I had an account approved in 3 minutes. They gave me a credit limit. They said, here's what the interest rate's going to be. They said, congratulations, your account is set up. I mean, it was the easiest thing. I mean, if it was 3 minutes, I would be surprised the way the phone responded. And they said, hey, we checked it out. You're good to go. And they said I could use the account right away. So I could take the iPhone and go into a store and use the Apple Pay with the new credit account behind it. So I go beep, and I'd have like $34 of dinner on the account. But the card itself was sent in the mail. And they said you'd get it in about 2 to 3 weeks. Well, it comes in about a week. And I didn't open it up because I thought that, we would open it up on the show. And now remember, it's an account on your phone, and the card is kind of a auxiliary kind of a backup? Kind of a backup, really, when you think about it. And they really want you to think about it that way. We'll talk about that in a few minutes. But I didn't open it up, and I thought we'd open it up right now. So let's open it up. This is like a 5x7 brown cardboard container, and there's no marking on it, and it came in an overnight envelope. And we're going to just pull open the little tab and see what's in there. Let's open it. All right. Ooh, that's nice. So now we got a nice white packaging, and it's got a cutout of an apple on it. So now it's starting to look like a real Apple product, not some piece of crummy cardboard, right? And
very simple and understated. And open
simple.
up to reveal.
Yeah,
David Hagan.
It's got my name on it. Look at that little Apple thing, and it's got a little gold. I think that's the chip. And it looks pretty good. And on the back, it says Goldman Sachs and MasterCard. Very cool. But check it out. There's no number. Realize that. There's no number on that card.
Check this out.
And the reason is they don't want the number to be out there and for people to be able to look at it and potentially steal the number. Now, where's your number? The number's in the iPhone under Apple Pay, where your card resides. So if you want to use the number for something, you got to go to your phone, got to go to Wallet, you got to open up the Apple Card, and the number's right there. as well as the super secret 3-digit code and the whatever else you need to do. But pretty cool. And the interesting thing about it is it's made of metal. I mean, Brian, you know, I'm a big metal credit card guy. The card that I usually carry, the Amazon Prime card, is the only other metal card that doesn't have an annual fee, because I don't do annual fees. And this one's even a little heavier than that.
Nice.
Listen to this. See, like it's like a piece of pie. When it rains, I got to stay away from puddles, because if I fall in a puddle, this will drag me down and drown me. But it's pretty cool. And some of you may remember seeing articles that came out when this card was announced. You have to be a little careful because of the finish on it, even though it's made out of titanium. At least that's what they claim. Because this white finish will take on stains or marks from the oil and leather and stuff like that. So it's a pretty high-end looking piece, and I'm looking forward to the first time when I'm able to hand it to someone and go, check this out. I'm cool. Now, I've seen some videos on how you activate this card. Normally they have you call like the Dum 800 number, and they go, well, now you've been activated. Here, you put it in the packaging, and you hold the packaging up next to the phone, and you go into the wallet, and you hit like activate, and it goes boop. So I'm guessing that there's something in the packaging here somewhere that the card is sitting in that interacts with the phone, and maybe it even interacts with the card itself.
Yeah.
So it's a little harder to activate it unless you've got all the stuff that you need to do.
Which is probably exactly what they want.
Well, exactly so. It means more security, and more security in theory means lower costs that ultimately get passed on to the end user, the consumer. So, I think that's one of the reasons they don't have the account, the card number. I mean, you remember back in the day, we'd get these plastic credit cards with the raised numbers, and it's because they could put it in and they could roll that.
Thing.
Yeah, that thing over it, and it would emboss it. Now it went to the magnetic strip, and now it's the chip. And so you really don't need the raised numbers. In fact, I think I've even got a card that doesn't have raised numbers on it. It's got numbers, but not raised numbers. So I'm looking at this, waiting to open it tonight, and I'm thinking, well, how do you pay? Do you get a statement, or when I use it, are they going to finally send me something? Because it's been a while saying zero on the account on the phone. I think what you do, and I'm guessing, but I think what you do is you attach it to your bank account, because apparently it's really easy to pay. You see what your charges are, you see what the balance is, and you hit a pay button, and you show how much you want to pay, and it's going to show you how much interest you're going to pay if you pay it now as opposed to later, and that kind of stuff. And you just go boop, and it sounds like it's taken it right out of your account, kind of like, I guess, Zelle and some of these other places are set up. You're moving money directly out of your account to some other source. So it looks like it's super, super easy to pay. But why the card? What's so cool about this, other than the super astounding, cool-looking credit card, Here's the deal. I guess you get 3% cash back on purchases from Apple, and Uber has dipped its toe into that water. And you get a cash back the day you make the charge. So whenever you make a charge, you get 3% cash back if it's in an Apple store or an Uber. Now, I don't spend a lot of money at the Apple store typically, maybe once every couple of years. And Uber, I try and keep that to a minimum. So if you use the Apple Pay feature, which is the phone, if you actually walk the phone up to a retailer and go, boop, they'll pay you 2% on that. That's a pretty good rate of return. I know of one other card that pays 2% totally, and I think everybody else is a little bit less. And then if you don't use the pay in the phone, if you actually use the cool card, you only get 1% back on that. So, it's pretty good. It's not bad. And if you think about it, they want you to start using the phone to go around town and go boop, boop, boop. The problem is, in California at least, only 75% approximately of the retailers now have these terminals where you can hit the boop and make it work. Yeah. So you're still going to have to whip out that really cool card, but every time you do, you're only going to get 1%. Now, what if you buy something online? Because we're buying more and more stuff online. So you buy the dog food or the whatever, and they deliver it through Amazon Prime. I'm not sure. I'm guessing you're only going to get 1%. Because if you do it on Amazon Prime and you use the Apple Card, you're going to have to go into the phone and get the number and then transcribe the number into the purchase, the online purchase, and I'm guessing you're only going to get 1% on that. So I think that, while it says 2% on Apple stuff, I think you've got to really, or not Apple stuff, but Apple Pay. I think you've got to figure it's probably going to be somewhere between 1.5 to 1 3/4, and that's if you make a conscious effort to use the Apple Pay in the phone as much as possible. Frankly, if it was me, I'd be wanting to whip out that beautiful card just because it makes a scene. It's kind of cool. So a little bit less than that. Another good thing about this account: no fees. I really like this. No late fees, no over the limit fees, no transactional fees. Now, I hardly ever pay those kinds of fees because I'm just the kind of person that likes to pay on time, and in fact, actually early, so they don't late post it. But if you're the kind of person that travels around a lot, like foreign travel, you're going to save transactional fees. I saw one website that was saying that transactional fees on a credit card can run you 3%. So if you're spending a lot of time traveling, this could save you an awful lot of money. Another advantage is it's very secure. Because the number's not on the card, because the number's in your phone, because in order to get into the wallet, it's got to scan your face or it's got to use your fingerprint. It's pretty secure. And I am told that every transaction has 3 different code numbers attached to it. So I think it would be pretty hard for someone to be able to, snooch your card and use that. And I think they're counting on that. I think they're counting on savings in terms of less fraud to be able to offer people some of the advantage that they're talking about. And oh, by the way, did I say the card looks so cool? That's a nice. That's a nice advantage.
Shiny bauble.
Oh my God, it's beautiful. It's just beautiful, and you get that cash back every day. So it says, hey, you bought this for $3.25, and you get a couple pennies back, and you kind of bank it in your phone, and you can apply it towards your next purchase, or you can let it build up, or you can, I guess, put it into your bank account or whatever you want to do. And the data that comes to you shows you what your recent transactions are right when you open up the app, and it puts it in a category so you can see what your balance is on the account, and you can see in what category it relates to. Now, I think this would be really good for TFWP people that like to be a little more intentional and understanding and thoughtful in terms of what they're spending their money on and in what categories. So I think that's kind of cool. And did I say it? And the card looks so cool. It looks so cool. But there, I got to tell you, there's some negatives. Not big negatives, but I think it's something that listeners should know. The first is, I think the interest rate's a little higher. The interest rate that they gave me was 18%. Now, we've said on past shows that the average interest rate in the United States is 18%. So I mean, it's about average. But I got to tell you, I've got a card that's 12% that I use at the business. I got a card that's 16%. And it may not really matter if you're not carrying over a balance. So we don't carry over a balance. But if you do, it seems like the interest rate's a little high, a little luxurious there for the credit company. I also understand that they want to see a FICO score of 700 to be able to get one to be sent to you. Because when you do the little open up the account thing, what they must do is run right out to the credit reporting agencies and get a FICO score. So I think that's a little bit of a downside. Of course, I guess if you're not paying the fees, the late fee, the over limit fee, the transactional fees, I mean, maybe it washes itself out, but it seems a little aggressive to me. Another negative, and this is kind of a bigger one, there's only one account per person. So this is my card, and it's one account, and my wife and I can't share it. And our normal credit card that we use, we share that card. So there's one bill every month. We see what the family unit has spent on this and this and this and this. And here it would be a lot harder to track that.
So there's no option for a joint, even though it could be under one person's, Apple ID. There isn't a family.
No authorized user cards at this point. I suppose that could always change if enough people like me, go, oh, that's a big downside. But right now, it's one person per count. And I don't know. I think that's a big drawback. I know it'd be a big drawback for my wife because she likes to keep track of what I'm spending on the credit card. Another downside is you can't download your data into programs like Mint or QuickBooks. So one of the things that we do is on a monthly basis, we download the charges into QuickBooks, and every month we prepare a statement. What came in, what came out. One of the first things that we talked about in the early days of TFWP was know your flow. Know what's coming in, know what's going out. And if it's negative, you got to fix it right away. And one of the ways that we do it primarily, the easiest way, is you download the data off the credit card into your Mint program or your QuickBooks program, and the Apple Card doesn't let you do that at this point, which is really kind of surprising to me. I mean, you could overcome the one person per account thing if you could download two accounts into your QuickBooks.
Into the same, yeah.
Right? That would integrate it, and you'd have a pretty good idea. But they don't do that. The benefits.
I wonder if they have their own product that's going to be coming out to try and rival Mint or QuickBooks.
Oh, very sneaky, and probably true, right? I think that doesn't Apple have a program that competes with QuickBooks? I don't know. Yeah, I don't know anyone uses it, but that would certainly make sense, right? It would create a ready-made market for their products. The benefits, I think, are maybe a little bit different. I've got the Amazon Prime card, and we get 5% on Amazon purchases, which isn't a bunch, but it's a growing percentage of what we do, and 2% on gas and restaurants, and then 1% on everything else. So, nothing on the Apple Card is going to get you 5%. So,
that's a good number.
Yeah, maybe that's a wash, But did I mention it's a really cool looking credit card? I can't tell you enough how cool it is. In fact, when I opened it up just a few minutes ago, our engineer here came walking over to check it out because people have seen it on TV and all that, but to see one live, it's like, oh man, that's really cool. Yeah. Another potential disadvantage is there's no sign-up bonus. And I've seen a lot of people in the media, commentators primarily, complaining, well, there's not a bonus. You don't get 2,000 points to sign up. You don't get, a credit for signing up. And my thought on that is, so what? So what? That's really a fool's errand. So they give you $200 to open the account on something that you put many more times that on, every single month. It's kind of like the timeshare that we talked about, 2-3 weeks ago. Sign up for a timeshare for $24,000, $22,000, or whatever it is, and we'll give you a weekend in Vegas. It's like, so now I got that timeshare, and now I got maintenance fees for the rest of my life because you gave me a free weekend in Vegas, or in my case, 80 lift tickets for a place in Utah, which back in the day was really pretty cool. But now we'd really be sucking it up. So I think that's a fool's errand. It's like pay TV offering you a year at $29 when you know full well that there's a commitment for a much larger amount, or that when it bumps up, they know that you're probably not gonna move. So I'm not as impressed about that as a downside, but it's certainly getting a lot of play out there by the financial commentators. So I don't know, Brian, what do you think, man?
It's an attractive card. I'm going to give it.
It's a really attractive card.
It's an attractive card.
As we say in the garden, that's a good looking tomato.
The tapping with it, with your phone.
Yeah.
And then to have the option of the card.
Right. I just handed the card to Brian, and he actually gasped. He actually stuttered.
I'm clicking it right now.
And that's titanium. That's I think they make teeth out of that stuff.
So, yeah, it's super thin, but it does have some weight to it. That's nice.
Yeah. Yeah, not bad. But do you think that the benefits outweigh the negatives? Or let me put it another way. Would you move, because you're not using an Apple Card, you've got another card to be not named.
Yeah.
Would you, now that you've held that piece of titanium in your hand, would you be inclined to use it, transfer?
I want to see the interface.
Okay.
On the phone.
On the phone, yeah.
And if that rivals, the way I use QuickBooks, maybe.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say no.
Okay.
Maybe it's an account that you use specifically for entertainment,
Right.
or something like that.
Yeah.
So you didn't need to download. That's kind of holding your data hostage.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, if they'd free up the data, that might take away one of the drawbacks. And of course, if you're going to switch, then you have to go through the whole switching protocol. You got to call up, your iTunes, or you got to go to your iTunes. You got to switch the card number. And that's kind of a hassle whenever that happens. But that's a one-time thing.
It does feel nice.
I'm telling you, it's gorgeous, isn't it? Oh my goodness, it's really pretty. For me, I'm not sure that I would change. The downside about one person, one account, and not being able to download your data, as you know, I'm a spending kind of guy, and I have to keep real track of what I'm spending that on. Otherwise, I could just get credit card madness and go crazy, So I don't know. Now, if I was out shopping cards anew, I would certainly be attracted by a lot of the things that this does, and I would be attracted by the card, which, by the way, did I tell you, it's gorgeous.
It's kind of gorgeous.
And to say Goldman Sachs on the back, that's a very high-end investment firm. That's kind of cool. But to switch, I'm not so sure if they bring a couple more features across, maybe. But for me, I'm sitting tight. I'm sitting tight with an Amazon Prime card, because I get the Prime and I get the card, and we get the 5% on the Amazon purchases, and that's me. But here's something else interesting to think about. There's a lot of people in the personal finance world that say, hey, you should be cash only. And why do they say that? Well, yeah, some people can't deal with the impulse of not using a card when it's in their pocket. I mean, that's not a lot of people, but there's some people. And the statistics show that if you are spending cash for things, you pay 18% less. You're a more stingy or prudent consumer. You tend to use less. So those people propound that we should go cash only. However, from my perspective, it's kind of hard to track the use of cash. I mean, I don't know about you, but if I got cash in my pocket and I get a cup of coffee and then I get some lunch, and then before you know it, it's like, well, where'd all that cash go? And I don't want to spend my day tracking cash.
Trying to find receipts for where was I? Okay,
That stuff drives me crazy. Just absolutely drives me crazy. So if that's the case, then I think that, maybe people start thinking about using a credit card, which is really what we've talked about here on TFWP, because it helps you track your spending better. But you also have to be more prudent or cognizant about what you're spending, because you may spend more because you're doing it on the credit card. Maybe, just maybe, the Apple Card falls into that sweet spot, into that gap between those 2 points of view, because that Apple Card is showing you very easily when you open the app what the balance is, what your last bunch of expenditures were. You have a much more readily available way to look at what the spend is, and might that fill in that gap? I don't know. I think that's a pretty thoughtful thing to think about, and I'm not sure that the credit card companies or the U.S. consumer have really thought about that much. But I have always thought it'd be a good idea to have a card to help track. And I counted I knew that the downside was you might spend a little more, so I always tried to keep an eye on it. I didn't want to use my phone to go into the account because that's a pain in the neck, although I see people going into their account just real readily on their phone these days. But I think that this might, I don't know.
Do you know in that study, and I don't know if I asked you this before, when you say cash, do you literally mean paper?
Yeah, dollars.
Dollars and not the use of a debit card?
No. Well, the debit card's a whole other thing because a debit card, you pull it out and you can see the debit in your account if you go into the account. But my experience, my limited experience in going into my account on my phone was it's kind of a pain in the ass. What's the username? And what was the password again? And and the interface wasn't that easy to see. With the Apple Card, it jumps out at you. Go, here's your last 6 purchases. Here are the categories that they were in. Here's the balance of your card. Here's how many days till you need to pay without paying any interest. I mean, it's so simple. You could do it in the middle of the night. So maybe it falls in that middle. Maybe that's a good thing to do. I don't know. But of course, as we all know, if people aren't going to pay off that full amount to avoid the interest, it can build up, and the interest rate on this card is not great. Not great. 18%'s pretty dangerous. If you're thinking it's 18% and you remember money doubles every 7 years at 10%, wow, that could catch up to you really quick. So I don't know. It's kind of a mixed bag. Does that make it any more enticing to you, Brian? Because, by the way, did I mention? Oh yeah. It's a gorgeous, gorgeous card.
It's sexy.
It is really. Look at that. It's like having a. Don't they make when I see the James Bond movie? They have these not chips, but they're these square things that they hand when they're gambling in Monaco. It almost looks like a thin version of that. It's so cool. Pretty neat stuff.
Well, you're going to have to use it.
I'm going to have to. Well, first I got to attach a bank to it, I think.
You got to use it for 2 months
and see what it.
One thing a week.
Yeah.
And
see what it's like.
Yeah.
But the problem that I have with it is even if I just buy some coffees and what have you, it doesn't download into the Quicken that we use, and it's going to skew our monthly spend for a couple months.
Science, David. This is research. Man. Do it for the listeners.
Do it for the listeners. Take one for the listeners.
Take one for the team. Actually, take one every week.
There we go. Take some financial ambiguity for the good of the group.
You can print out a receipt. I think you'll be okay.
Well, that's our Apple Card experience in terms of signing up and activating and trying to figure out how the whole thing's put together. That's our story. We're going to stick to it. When we get to the payment mode on this whole thing, we're going to do another podcast and let you know how that goes. In the meantime, if anyone out there's got any other credit card that they think is exceptionally cool, send us an email, text us a picture, and we can talk about that as well. Or you can send us a recorded question on the website, the financialwellnesspodcast.com. That's a wrap. This is Dave Hagan, and you've been listening to the Financial Wellness Podcast.
You've been listening to the Financial Wellness Podcast, Dave's weekly message to keep you on your path to financial success. If you have a question that you would like Dave to answer on the podcast, go to thefinancialwellnesspodcast.com. You can leave an audio message with one click of a button, or type your message into the question box. Either way, it's sent right to Dave's phone. Remember, Dave will randomly draw from the submitted questions and pick the winner of a free 1-hour personal conversation with Dave to help you achieve your financial goals. Don't forget to subscribe to the podcast so you receive the new episode notifications, or share the podcast via the app with your family and friends. This is your announcer, Nick Appel, wishing you every financial success.